Manjula Narayan, books editor, Hindustan Times, and today I have with me Jay Kannaiyan.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Manjula?
I'm fine. Who's written this wonderful book, Riding Towards Me, a 1,000-day journey from Chicago to Delhi. Who?
Yeah.
I'm like really impressed.
Yeah.
And it took you 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So, talk about, in the beginning of the book, you speak about how the whole thing was actually getting started.
Yeah.
That was the biggest hurdle of them all.
Right.
So talk about that, and you selling your house and everything with no intention of being back in the States, and
Right.
So talk about
Yeah.
a big hurdle.
Yes, this difficult thing, like coming from a conservative South Indian family, they pushed me towards higher education. I did that, got the engineering job, was doing all the right things, but I didn't feel it was sort of my life. I was living somebody else's life, I felt. And somehow these motorcycles came into my life, and that felt more like being alive. And I thought, I need to pursue this and see where this goes. And then I'm like, oh, many other people have also pursued this kind of dream and traveled around the world. But dreaming is one thing, and
Yes.
planning is one thing. But to actually take the decisive step to say, I'm going to go, I'm going to commit to a journey like this, means you actually have to deviate from whatever else you were doing in life. It meant quitting a job, selling a house, doing all these other things. And that's a big step for a lot of people to take. And I accept that for a lot of people, they're either married with kids or some other obligations and they can't go.
Yes.
And I was at my time in this life, I'm like, I don't have those obligations right now. I should go. I have a chance.
Yes.
I was thinking about really the decisive moment. Do I go or not go? I'm like, if I don't go, I'll always regret it that I had a chance once and I didn't go. If I go and it doesn't work out and it's not such a great experience, no problem. I can come back and get a job again or do something like that. So then I decided, okay. And I also surrounded myself with friends who are like, dude, you should go. I can't go.
Do it.
Do it for us. And I'm like, okay, at least I'm not going for myself.
I know in the
Go on
book,
that.
everybody who's a buddy is like pushing you to do it.
Yeah, and I built up like a nice supportive network because I knew that this is not an easy thing to do. There's going to be hurdles, and a week, like 3 weeks into the trip start, I destroyed the engine of my
Yes.
bike, and I had no turning back. So I was like, I have to only go forward. So luckily, this friend was there, Sridhar in San Francisco. He helped me get another engine, which was from his bike. He donated.
Good
and
friends,
then,
you have such good
right?
friends.
But like they believed in the dream also. It wasn't just my dream. A lot of people were like, dude, you go, and we're riding along with you. And I thought, okay, this is nice. I'm not doing it just for myself, and I felt that support around. So, yeah.
And what I really liked about it is that, you're traveling through these places and you're, staying with people, you're meeting people, and it's very positive. I mean, I'm not saying, everybody knows horrible things can happen on
Yeah.
the road.
Right.
But your book is really so positive, and it's kind of increasingly rare in the world to be positive. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody is so negative all the time.
Right, and it's true. It's like the negative things probably generate more headlines,
Yeah.
more sensationalist.
Yeah.
But that's not all that's out there. There are also good things out there. And I mean, nothing really that bad happened to me. If it did, I probably wrote about it in the book. I got stung by a scorpion, and I felt my hand was going numb.
That's bad.
That was pretty bad.
But that's not human.
Yeah, right.
I mean, a human didn't do it.
Right, but that was the only bad thing. Like nothing else. I never got mugged, never got robbed. But as I was saying, I think yesterday in the talk,
Yes.
like there is a sense of what you bring to the table. If you bring fear and skepticism, and you're looking for something bad to happen, I kind of feel the bad things will get attracted to you. But if you bring this sense of, I am a little self-confidence, I am here, I'm vulnerable, I'm here to experience your culture, people are like, okay, maybe we could harm you, or maybe we can treat you to a meal,
Yeah.
And I always got the
Or
latter
maybe
somehow.
we can get him to treat us.
Exactly.
To a meal,
Maybe
which
you
is
can
what
get this
did.
guy to cook for us, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing that as a way, I don't know, like you put some goodwill out there, and I think that attracts more, positive interactions, and that just kind of propagated through the trip. So,
And your chicken curries seem to have been a big hit all across the world.
like I planned a lot of parts about this trip, right? Of course, doing this on an Indian passport, like we had to really plan where can you get a visa and what can you do and how do you import the bike. So a lot of planning. But the one thing I didn't plan was this chicken curry. This came about on its own because I was staying with a lot of local hosts along the way. And I thought, okay, they're letting me stay for free in their home. The least I can do is, cook a little something for them. And I came up with this pretty simple recipe, just a lot of onions, garlic, ginger, roasted for like 15 minutes in oil. Then whatever you add is going to come out tasty, right? And people were taking to this pretty positively. Okay. And I thought, okay, let me see what kind of doors this chicken curry can open. And it was, I'd cook for somebody in one city and be like, oh my God, this curry was so amazing. If you're going to that city, you have to go stay with my friend and cook the curry for him also.
Same curry for him.
Yeah, so it became sort of this currency actually that I was like, using along the way, and it was opening more and more doors. So it was the one like real sort of new experience that came out of this trip, that I saw like the power of being able to like cook for other people and seeing the change in relationships between us. Before I cooked for them, I was just some random stranger they had met on a bike. After I'd cooked for them, and we cooked together, because this curry is a lot of chopping onions and everything, we did it together. And then it came out tasty. I'm not bragging, but it's a pretty tasty curry. The recipe's on my website. You can go check it out.
I will check it out.
You search for Jammin chicken curry. It'll come up on Google. And it comes out good. And then once you do that, it changes, how people think about you.
You cook with like 30 people at that ranch.
Yeah. In
30
Mexico.
is a lot.
This is a lot. And I was really, the pot was like this big, sitting on 4 burners at once, 6 chickens in there, 30 onions, tomatoes. It was like a whole operation of people chopping and cutting. And wasn't my tastiest curry, but by that point, everybody was like, okay, this is amazing, and came out well. So, and that changed the whole feeling in that place I was staying at in San Cristobal. So I would encourage other people, when you're traveling now, instead of just taking from these cultures, you can also give back something. Not saying we should cook our Indian food everywhere we go, but sometimes we need that. But this idea that you can also exchange something.
You're not just somebody who's just, I don't know, a parasite.
Yeah, right. Not just taking the photo, taking the selfie and leaving. You're leaving something behind as well. So
yeah.
Kind
of building relationships and.
Yes.
And there's a bit in your book where you say that everybody who goes to a place, especially these rural places where they don't see many people, where the interaction isn't like so intense as it is in cities, you're an outsider and you're like an ambassador of a culture.
Yes.
That was really interesting. I didn't think about that and how your presence affects them.
So there's one part to this that wherever we go, we are inevitably representing the country we come from.
Yes.
So I was, the first Indian many people had met in a lot of places. And I was carrying this responsibility. People are asking so many tough questions about India that I didn't know the answers about. So that was interesting.
Some places where they didn't know India existed at all.
Right. Because they know China. China's a big force, but India is not in.
Who are they?
Like in Bolivia, sure they know about India, but not everybody does. So there was some new interactions, but that's one aspect. But then when we, as say from the urban society, goes into really remote rural areas, you're not just representing your country. You're sort of representing all other urban people as well. And of course they see you as rich. You come from richness, But still, I felt a lot more sort of goodwill coming from people who have a lot less. I stayed with some pretty poor people in northern Bolivia, and they invited me for dinner, and I saw, they had a jar of meat, like dried meat, which sort of looked like a prized food. The kids were eating like cassava, like a potato kind of starch. But being the guest, they gave me some of the meat. And I thought, the right thing to do is probably to refuse, because this is all they have. But also, they want to be a host to someone, right? We understand that coming from India, right?
If you refuse them, it's like,
we're not even good enough, right? So I'm like, I should take at least a little bit to show them that they can be a host. So this I felt, not that I'm an Indian coming here. I'm someone coming from this urban culture, the Western developed, global culture, and interacting with these people. And I hope they don't take a bad impression of the rest of us, and I want to leave at least a good impression of them. So this was really what was a little eye-opening. How much people are willing to share, even when they don't have as much themselves. So that was very, very heartening to see that. Right.
And another thing is like, I mean, I ride too, but I'm like really bad at the mechanics of it. So I was very impressed that you knew what exactly to do when your bike breaks down and why it's broken down and
Yeah.
what to do to like set it right.
Right.
And that's fantastic. I know you're an engineer.
Yes,
So-
but it didn't come from that. It came from actually sitting with mechanics for many years leading up to the trip, having them teach me, like, how do you tighten a bolt so that it's tight enough but not too tight. If you over tighten it, you destroy the bolt.
Which you did.
I've done many times, right? So I'm not perfect at this at all. But the more you do it, the more you learn and you pick up some intuition about it. But this was also the idea that before I left on the trip, I had read many other travelers' blogs and stories, and it seemed whenever they had a breakdown, it became this huge drama, and the trip went off course. And I said, okay, I can't afford that, because I'm going on an Indian passport, one-way journey. If this bike breaks down, I have nobody to call and like come rescue me. I have to be able to figure out how to fix this thing, or at least carry the spare parts that I could find a mechanic and explain to him, hey, I think this part has broken, can you help me fix it? And I did that in a few places, and it made a breakdown like no drama, So, and it even brought a sense of calm. I think like I destroyed my clutch in Bolivia once, and my first thought was, okay, at least it's not raining,
And
like
then you also say that if it had been raining, at least it's not snowing.
exactly. Like at least I realized this one thing, like when things are going bad, like stop for a second, say something positive. Like, okay, are you alive? You're alive. That's like one level.
Yeah.
Okay, next, are you safe? Okay, you're safe. Okay, you have a broken motorcycle. It's not such a big deal, right? It's a small deal in the big picture of the world. So starting from that like place of gratitude, it makes your situation not so stressed. And if you're not stressed, you'll actually figure out what you need to do to fix it. But if you're stressed and freaking out, you can't even think clearly.
Yes, that's true.
So, and, and these lessons I took to my life after this trip. Ran a startup in India for a while. I've gone back to the States into the startup scene, and so many of these lessons have, I
I'm
think,
sure,
shaped me now for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
So,
that's the thing about, I mean, I don't know, road trips, maybe not in a car,
yeah,
but definitely
Yeah.
on bikes and on bicycles.
Yeah.
Is that you learn a lot just from being on those wheels.
yes.
How is
Yes.
that?
It's this fact also that
You learn about yourself. That's why you're riding towards me.
yes, exactly. It was this. I meant to imply that like it's an introspective journey
Yes.
of yourself when you go out there.
Yeah.
That too solo.
Yes.
A lot of people go on trips with friends. That's fun. That's a different kind of trip than when you go by yourself.
Yes,
You're
yes.
really it's you and your wits against the world, or with the world, how you see it. And there is something I've biased. We are riding on two wheels
Yeah.
compared to if you do this trip on a Jeep, because in a Jeep, people will see you as, oh, you have protection.
Yes.
You're sitting in a cage.
Yes.
On a bike, on a bicycle, you're exposed.
Yeah.
You're vulnerable.
Yeah.
To the weather, to anything.
And that's what's
other
wonderful
traffic.
about it.
Exactly.
also.
You have a 360 view of the
Yeah.
world, which is where not just a frame.
Yeah.
Looking through the frame. And many people in all these countries would be like, I'd be in a gas station filling up fuel, and people would be like, you poor biker, like you look like you could use a meal. You want to come home for lunch? I'm like, sure, let's go, right? In Egypt this happened, in Argentina, Brazil, so many places. And somehow being on a motorcycle like encourages people to come up to you and say, where are you coming from? Where are
Yeah.
you going?
That is true.
Let's talk,
Yeah.
come have a chai, something like that. And I don't know, it doesn't happen as much, I think, when you're in a car.
No, I'm
So
sure it doesn't.
this is why I've really preferred motorcycle travel than that.
So tell me about Sandrina, your bike.
Right. See, I gave her a name just for fun. Because I'm
Everybody
like,
does.
why not, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that over the journey, people started, getting to know the name, Sandrina, of my bike. And were like, how is Sandrina doing? I'm like, she has become her own personality now. This is amazing, right? So she's an old school bike, 98 Suzuki DR650. And the reason I chose this kind of bike compared to, say, modern Triumphs or BMWs, which are excellent motorcycles,
Yes.
But I felt, if those bikes are reliable, really great. But if they do break down, can you fix it yourself? Especially in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
You're going, say, you're crossing India.
Well, you're
and
going through the Amazon.
Yeah,
like
right?
you did.
And something happens. You destroy your clutch. Can you really get into that fancy motorcycle and repair it yourself? Maybe not. You need a lot of specialized tools and whatnot.
Yes.
But Sandrina, old school bike, very simple, very easy to access the engine. It was very easy not easy, but I was able to learn how to fix the bike myself. Of course, sitting with mechanics who taught me. And that gave me a lot more confidence going into all these far off places with only my wits and my tools, knowing that if it broke down, I'll be able to, jugaad something and get out of it. And that's what happened along the way. So totally bonded with her. And people like, oh, will you sell her now that the trip is over? I'm like, no, not a chance. She's going to be in a museum somewhere or at home, up on a pedestal somewhere. So, but now she's with a friend in Bangalore, in her retirement days. He's taking care of her. So, yeah, really good bike. Okay. And, more than a bike, she was literally my home for 3 years on the road. So every time I was with her, I'm like, I'm grounded. I have my connection. So, and this vehicle is what's taking me from the US to India, through all these other places. So you bond with it. Even though it's a machine,
I know.
You bond with it, So made it
Your
fun.
feelings for that motorcycle.
Exactly. It's irrational, but why not, right?
Right.
Yeah, it can be fun.
Yeah.
So
So one last question. You've done the Americas and you did Africa and then you came home to India. Where is your next trip going to be to?
Right. After I finished the trip in 2013, I was thinking, where next? And I wanted to go further east. So in 2014, I went east through Myanmar into Thailand and Laos. So that was a really exciting adventure. But
Are the roads good there?
Yeah, fantastic riding. Beautiful hill roads and dirt tracks and lovely people to meet. But I'm really dreaming about even further east, like towards Siberia. So from India,
countries.
Exactly. From India, I'd love to. The route is not there yet, but I'd love to be able to ride into the Central Asian countries, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, these places, and then onwards into, say, Mongolia and Russia.
Wow.
And all the way east to Siberia. And then hopefully, Siberia and Alaska are really close together, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You can make a little hop.
Is there?
There's no road.
There must be a ferry.
Ferry, and you have to fly a little bit from this city called Magadan to Anchorage.
You've
And
researched it.
I've researched
You're
this.
gonna do it.
I've dreamed about this one, So maybe in a few years, the trip is planning. So we'll see if it happens.
Okay, I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah. Great.
Okay, go out and get this book. I mean, if you're a motorcycling freak, especially, but even if you're not, you should. It's like it's really great reading, and I really enjoyed it. Riding Towards Me: A 1,000-Day Journey from Chicago to Delhi by Jay Kannaiyan.
Great.
Right?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.